Thank you so much to Shell for being partners in this for the past year and making events like this happen, like these conversations that are happening. We've been to Santa Fe, New Mexico, Washington, D.C., and of course, now here in Salt Lake City. So, with a view from the top, let me welcome to the stage Rick Talent, Shell's Executive Vice President of Supply Chain, Contracting, and Procurement. Rick?
Thank you.
Good to see you.
You too.
All right, so Shell, obviously, 100 years being the big boys on the block, right? Major global energy company in the world. Besides continuing to produce traditional oil and gas, what is the company hoping to achieve in the next decade? Big question, I know.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, and great to be back on stage here with Axios, and thanks for this. And I actually came from Houston as well, so we came from two different airports, we found out last night, but we both made it in, so fantastic to be here. Shell's ambition is to be the leading energy company in the world, and energy means all forms of energy, not just traditional oil and gas. We do want to keep our oil and gas and our liquids business going for the foreseeable future. We do see demand and customers still wanting to pay for that. But we're also the world's leading LNG business. So we sell more LNG worldwide than any other business in the world. So we're trying to first of all, invest both in those businesses, but also transform our downstream renewable energy business as well. So those are our mobility stations, our lubricants, our refineries and chemical parks. We're also selectively investing in lower carbon solutions. So those are lower carbon fuels, e-mobility, carbon capture and sequestration. So continue to build the new energy of the future that eventually could help replace oil and gas and compete with that for customers as well. So it's a little bit of everything. It's the all-the-above strategy. Back to 100 years in the U.S., the U.S. is Shell's #1 country. So we're in all 50 states. We have 11,000 employees across the U.S. and many different locations. We have 12,000 Shell retail gas stations, so just if you see a Shell Pectin when you go around the U.S., we have 12,000 of those, 600 Jiffy Lube stations. But we also are the leading purchaser of LNG in the U.S., and we're also invested $8 billion in the last couple of years in lower carbon solutions in the U.S. as well. So the U.S. is a major part of Shell's ambition, our strategy, and of course, being the leading energy company in the world, it's going to be a big part of that as well.
When it comes to energy abundance, what are some of the barriers?
There are a lot of barriers. Yeah. What I say is that the energy system, the energy industry is a team sport. So everybody has to come together to make it happen. We want energy abundance. We want people to have the energy they need. We want affordable energy. We want reliable energy. We want clean energy. So it takes everybody to do that. So if you think about a team sport, we need government policies, first of all, to incentivize innovation, but also be predictable. So those are tax policies, regulatory policies. That's a big part of it as well. We need communities as well. We are part of the community everywhere we are around the world. And so us partnering with communities to find solutions, that's another area that we continue to drive. But we also need customer choice. So if you think about what customers need, they need clean, affordable, reliable energy, as I said. And so we work with customers to understand what is the demand, what do they need to be able to be successful. So if you think about what are the barriers, it's how does this all come together? How do we create something that's predictable over time? I always tell people when we make investments in facilities, so we just started up for instance, our Shell polymer Monaca plant outside of Pittsburgh. It takes 6-7 years to build a facility like that, but it's a 40-50-year investment. And so to make an investment over that time period, you do need that predictability from a policy perspective to make it work.
Predictability, oh goodness. Okay, so Shell is no longer in the refining business on the West Coast. Is that because of you transitioning to all renewable offerings? Why is that?
No, it's not actually. It's again, an all of the above strategy. If you think about Shell in the U.S., we started on the West Coast. So I won't give a long history lesson in Shell in the U.S., but we actually started in 1912 in the Pacific Northwest, opened up our first refinery in the U.S. in Martinez, California in 1915. So this has been our home in the U.S. for many, many years. It's also our largest market for our conventional fuels. So if you think about what we sell in terms of oil, gas, lubricants, but it's also our largest market for lower carbon solutions. To give a great example, here in Salt Lake City, we actually sell sustainable aviation fuel to Delta Airlines. So it's another key market for us. And so we continue to invest in the West. We have, again, 2,000 retail stations or Shell-branded retail stations on the West Coast. We have a significant number of lubricant facilities, but we're also investing in lower carbon solutions. So we just have 3 new industrial refueling stations for hydrogen in California to be able to have big vehicles to transport things from the port outside Los Angeles to Southern California using hydrogen. And so again, it's a new fuel, something again that we need to work on to see if first of all, the business models work, but also the incentives for companies to invest in hydrogen vehicles. So the West Coast is extremely important. Specifically, when you said refineries, we found that those refineries are probably best placed with another operator in that case. They can get more value out of it and actually be better for the communities than we have from our global portfolio. And so we exited those a few years ago, but we are still committed to the West Coast of the U.S.
Okay, obviously being with Shell, the history that Shell has, that we tapped into you because of your view from the top. I want your view from the top specifically on energy abundance and what it requires, right? And it requires a stable supply chain, domestic and overseas. As a leader who has a view from the top, how have you seen the ability to create abundance in energy? How have you seen that evolve over the years?
No, it's quite interesting. If you look at the complexity in the energy systems today, they're amazingly complex. So think about oil products being shipped all over the world, boats, trains, automobiles, right? I guess that's a movie as well. But
say that again? Planes,
trains, and automobiles. I think that was a movie one time. But the complexity, it's taken generations to build, right? So the system took many, many years, and Shell, again, has been at the forefront for a big part of that. But you also see what's happening today, disruptions in supply chains, geopolitical tensions, changing of policies up and down.
Lack of predictability.
Lack of predictability. So today's world is much more complex than even yesterday's world when we were building these supply chains. I always give the story about COVID. COVID was an interesting event because it completely disrupted everything we knew about supply chains across the world. And there was no playbook for it. I mean, we all have it on our risk registers and try to understand what happens when you have a global pandemic. But when it happens, there is no playbook. We had negative WTI prices in the US for a couple of days, just to give you an idea of what we had to go through during COVID. But you had COVID, then you had geopolitical tensions, Russia, Ukraine. We had a boat go sideways in the middle of the Suez Canal that stopped shipment through the Suez Canal for many days. So if you think about today's world, you have to be able to be much more resilient. And so the word resilience in supply chains comes up quite a bit as well. And when I talk about supply chains, it's not just a single supply chain in Shell. So people think about iPhones and supply chains and building iPhones, but we have multiple supply chains. We have 46,000 Shell retail gas stations across the world. We sell 500 million cups of coffee every year for Shell. And so a supply chain around coffee. Yeah, I know. You wouldn't think that we're a coffee company, but we sell a lot of coffee. So you go to a Shell cafe, tell me what you think versus maybe a Starbucks someday. But of course, we have the supply chains on that. But then we're also building massive LNG facilities in the west coast of Canada, for instance. And that's a completely different supply chain. And so what I found in being in this role, but also seeing what's happened over the last 5 or 6 years, is you have to be resilient, you have to be flexible, you have to build those relationships with governments, suppliers, customers, again, communities, right? Again, that team sport that all comes together. And you have to be able to be agile, all right? And that was something that's probably not been in our vernacular over the last few generations. So to create that energy abundance, again, you need predictability in terms of policies, you need predictability in supply chains, but we just don't have that today. So now we have to be able to be agile as well.
Okay, I'm going to steal something from Amy. This is an easy one, I promise, okay? A real quick would you rather, and it's very Texas specific. Would you rather beef or pork ribs?
Ooh, I'm a baby back rib person, so I would say that.
Okay, I'll let that slide.
You'll like that, okay.
I'll let that slide. All right, Rick, Talent, thank you very much.
Appreciate it, thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.